Hi guys, so today I wanted to film a how I read video. I don't think I've seen many of these videos, I've not actively watched many of these videos, but I feel like I like the concept. So usually the ones that I see are the how I read fast, and I don't really read fast necessarily, but I thought it'd be interesting to kind of share, and kind of just for myself really, like how I read generally. So I've got a little bit of notes, so if you see me glancing down, that would be why. But I have 3 main times of day that I dedicate to reading. So the first time a day is at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes in the morning before I start work. This is most days, I would say. Sometimes I do just want to sit down and watch telly. Sometimes I don't get out of bed until my second alarm, so then I'm a bit tight for time, and I'll end up just making breakfast, making sure my skin prep's done and that I've got everything ready and packed for the day. And so during those days I'll just stick on a YouTube video or something, or have the TV on in the background. But if I am feeling motivated to do a bit of reading, it's only for a couple of minutes before I have to go out the front door. Secondly, it is about an hour during my lunch break at work, and this is oftentimes interrupted reading. So during work it is a difficult time to kind of zone out. I have kind of mastered it a little bit, so I will sit there and, you know, get as much reading that I can possibly, but oftentimes, as I mentioned, it is interrupted because people, sometimes you just hear conversations, like the murmur of talking around you, get distracted by something. People do, you know, talk to me, which is nice. You know, sometimes as well people will ask me what I'm reading, so I'll have to break away and talk to them, which again is nice. So it's never like a full dedicated hour. There are times when I'm zoning in and out, obviously when I'm stopping to eat my lunch, but I do get a good amount of reading done during my lunch most days, depending on my concentration level. And the third time of day that I generally read is about 20 minutes during the bath in an evening, after work, after I've come home, before my dinner. Again, sort of just depending on my concentration level, the surrounding environment, the pacing and content of what I'm reading, and being able to generally just get in the zone. Through practice, I guess, I can get generally quite a bit read during those times. Again, as my 3 main times of day that I do read in. So yeah, it's just practice and perseverance and learning to zone stuff out that I found has helped me get those done as my core reading times. So I do have extra times during the day, and that is usually when I'm waiting for my dinner to cook. If I'm not running the bath and doing other things at different times, if I'm just sitting there waiting for it to cook, and basically any spare moment where I know I have at least 15 minutes for some reading, I will read. To be honest though, I think it takes at least about 15 minutes to get into the zone of reading, so I might not be like reading as quick as I would be after 15 minutes, 20 minutes of uninterrupted reading. During those 15 minutes that I have spare, it might just be a bit scattered, a bit of unconcentrated looking away, but I am still reading, if that makes sense. Especially when, like, it's the time of the evening where I am cooking my dinner and I'm just sitting there, I will just solely concentrate. So again, because there's nothing really surrounding to distract me generally, even though it is only about 15 minutes, I will still generally get a good bit read, even though it's a slower pace because I'm just getting into it, you know. Of course, other times include days off during the week, holiday time, or weekends. Reading, of course, is my most favourite hobby, so over the years I've been able to multitask and do it. Perhaps whilst watching a show that I'm interested in but not fully paying 100% attention to for the purpose of like reviewing it later or not. Perhaps with gaming going on in the background, someone else playing a game, not me. I'm not that multitask. I used to read at family events, but now that I am an adult, it's kind of at the point where I have to be more involved and it seems a bit rude and antisocial if I'm just sitting there in the middle of this conversation with my family and friends and just whip out my book. Whereas before, I think I could get away with it. It was a little bit acceptable and it seemed like people liked it as a quirk. I think now they might think it's a little bit rude. So yeah, unfortunately that time has gone out the window. I actually think I'd be able to read way more if I did read things on audiobooks or listen to audiobooks, and I've actually got a little bit of a conversation on that actually. This is something I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while, and it would make perfect timing to just chuck it in this video. So this is the concerns I have in taking the plunge and listening to an audiobook. Basically, I have these questions. Will I be able to get involved like I would if I was physically seeing words or watching a movie? Will I connect to the characters? What do I do meanwhile? Like, I feel like I won't be able to just concentrate on just the book if I'm not doing things like chores. But in saying that, I usually have on music and I'm still end up learning all the lyrics whilst multitasking. So I guess that will probably work. But then at the same time, it's like my hands aren't doing anything. And I don't know, like, I'm just very confused about how I would appreciate the experience. It's very weird because then, especially if it's like a book that I've seen the TV show or the movie of, I've got that voice in my head, so it's going to be weird hearing it read to me in a different voice rather than like the natural making up these voices in your head. That sounds a bit weird when you're reading like physically. This is just rambling a bit messy, but those are kind of my worries. I do actually, well, I have read one thing on audiobook, and that was it wasn't like through a Audible, like one of those subscription services. It was on YouTube, and I found a short story of the Percy Jackson world that I hadn't read at the time, and I saw it on there and I read it or listened to it, and I can't really remember that experience because it was just such a random sort of spare of the moment time years ago. So I'm still counting this as I haven't popped that audiobook cherry yet. So yeah, I just have these weird worries, and it's one of those things where I definitely know that I am overthinking things and I just need to sign up for one of those 3-month trials and just try it out. But I don't know, it's in the back of my head, it's just being pushed off more and more. And there we have it. I've finally been able to speak these silly reasons that I'm using to prolong my audio experience virginity. You tempt me to break my hypothetical audio chastity belt. But yeah, as I've mentioned, I have sort of listened to an audiobook randomly, so I'd like to think of it as, you know, just the tip. But I don't know why I'm making all these gross jokes. I'm so sorry. But yeah, there's that. So I do think audiobooks and things like that will be so much easier because I could even listen to them on the bus, because I've noticed of late I've not been taking my book out to read on the bus, and I think sometimes I literally just sit there watching out the window. I can't even bother to listen to music, but I feel like I'd be more productive if I had an audiobook on the go or something like that. And I do think it'd be more beneficial. I just, for some reason, I can't kick myself into gear and do it. I would love to see if anybody has any major benefits that they notice, to just kind of urge me. I should urge myself, but it'd be nice to have some comforting words to push me into trying out some audio. And also, there's so many different services, I don't know which one would be the best to go to. I am generally an overwhelmed person, so things like this I see and I freeze, and I see there's so many different things and I kind of just don't do any of them. So if you have a really good suggestion for, oh, my hair's just flicked out. Oh no, it's not, it's the front bit, ignore me. If you have any good suggestions for which is the best audio service in your opinion, let me know which one to go for, and also how limited and unlimited it is, because I know for some of them they say you have an unlimited amount to read in a month, but apparently if you read too much they're like, oh no, you've read too much, so it's kind of like put you on a bit of a ban, which sucks. So is there any of those services that maybe don't do that? Not that I'd be reaching those like extremes, but you never know. Also, something else that I guess highlights my reading experience, I know this is how I read kind of video, but this is also becoming how I read. I mentioned in my recent June wrap up that I've started to tab a bit more. I think I've only tabbed maybe, it's no more than 5 books at this point in time, and it's all been in, like around this year. Some of them it's just a few quotes that I like the sound of, other things where it's like non-fiction. I've been tabbing specific things that I've been looking for that I found really informative, and I wanted to highlight that to read again later, or just to, you know, have as, wow, that really impacted my way of thinking. And I've actually really been loving that. I feel like the next step might be actually highlighting and annotating my books, which I always thought was sacrilege in my little mind. I was like, oh, no, how could I? The only time I've ever like defaced a book like that was back in GCSE English where we were writing over our poetry books, and I didn't know what I was looking for because I'm not really that schooled on poetry, and it was just like a GCSE thing and done. But I feel like I could get that way now. I feel like I could like highlight and underline and stuff. So yeah, I'm actually really enjoying tabbing. So yeah, that's it for my video on just generally how I read, things that I do, things that I look out for, best times of day for me that I find beneficial for getting some reading done. Yeah. It was a bit of a random one, a bit of a rambly one as well, but I hope it was enjoyable. Let me know some of your tips and tricks on how you get the best reading done for you. Perhaps if you do read a lot, if there's any tips and tricks of how you read a lot, that would be great to know too, with limited time, because I mean it's one of those things as well. I've come up with a new thought process now where I don't have a child. Obviously we're not doing anything at the minute in this like pandemic, so I have a lot of extra time in that sense as well. It's just me and my partner living together, and he, you know, he's on his phone chilling or on a game and I'm reading. Like, it works quite nicely, so we're not doing anything crazy social and I don't have responsibilities like that, so that helps too, I guess. But yeah, anyway, I was doing an outro and then I just completely diverted back to the main video. I will speak to you in another video soon. Take care. Bye. Oh, I was hoping this would be more structured, but who are we kidding? It's me.